Morning, folks. Morning, folks. Thanks for joining me here. Um, no doubt you might have seen some news in the media today. Um, there's one particular story by the Australian Financial Review, this one. Um, yeah, so I'll try to keep expletives out of it, but it's really hard. Let me just drop some facts, and I hope this is going to help people. A lot more people are able to keep a more level head than I am on this topic. Um, Kind of just had it with this application, how the Australian government is handling contact tracing digitally, because it's really sad. Um, at the core of it, like, our medical professionals deserve tools that work. That is the absolute truth. Our medical professionals deserve tools that work. And when we give our medical professionals tools, and if those tools aren't working, well, that's actually theft. And you're like, how's that theft? Well, if you've got a small team of contact tracers and there's only 8 hours in the day and there's only like how many people in that team, if they're spending time being forced to use some technology and that technology is not being effective and it's not working, it's stealing time from contact tracers. It's preventing them from doing their job. So that's why I'm pissed off. Our medical professionals deserve technology that works. So this morning, the AFR has published a story, but it's not just the AFR. It's actually, it looks like the DTA has done a press release, like a PR campaign, and just released the following. I'll read it to you. But I'm just going to call out the AFR straight away. From day one, the AFR has done an absolute shocking job of doing fact checking of their stories regarding to technology and COVID safe. Anyway, so here it is. COVID safe app to get an overhaul to capture all the close contacts. The opening paragraph is basically summarizes and says Morrison's COVID safe app is to be overhauled to capture 100% of close contacts of all infected people who have the app. Like, okay, that's really weird. Like, of infected people who have the app, we'll pull it apart. How they're planning on doing this is effectively they're going to move to a new Bluetooth protocol. Like, okay, a new Bluetooth protocol. That's a little bit weird. Well, what does that even mean, right? Like I have a phone, you have a phone. Our phones are made of hardware. Like, so let's just unpack that. What does that even mean? Like a new protocol? Because our hardware, once it's shipped, it's in our hands. You can't put in new modes. Like that's it. It's in your hands. It cannot be adjusted after the fact. You can get software updates, but you can't change the physical silicon in your phone. So with contact tracing and Bluetooth, there's actually two modes, right? There is a beacon mode and there's a pairing mode. Okay, so the Australian government right now, COVID safe, uses pairing mode. We use the Singapore implementation and we've used a pairing mode. What this announcement seems to be is they're going to switch to a different style of pairing mode, right? Now, why this is bad is because pairing modes do not work if the application is in the background at all. So the only way this application will work, really, if you're on iPhone, is if you've got the application in the foreground. Like, and if you've got a choice between being on like Instagram or having COVID safe on your full screen, what are you going to choose? COVID safe's not going to win. So we're moving from an application or a technology, a pairing based technology, to another pairing based technology, which won't work. Additionally, pairing based technology is just bad science because the more people you're around, the worse the performance of the application is. Like, it's actually quadratic in space and time. I'll get into that. There is also beacon-based pairing available. Oh, sorry, beacon-based. Bluetooth low-energy beacons. So all other governments around the world, majority of them are moving to beacon-based. And beacon-based is, well, It also has another name. That's the Google Apple framework. There's a reason that Google and Apple moved to this framework and they proposed it. It's because it works in the background and it uses low energy and it's constant in space and time. It doesn't matter how many other people you're around at all. It logs all the contacts perfectly. Whereas if you use a pairing mode, which Australia currently does, we use the Singapore's implementation, and we're about to move to a different pairing mode. The more people you're around, the worse the application performs because it needs to connect to everyone, and then it can only connect to your hardware can typically only connect to one device at a time. So it's got to go through a pairing sequence, which takes time, and it's got to complete the pairing sequence, which means if you're just passing by someone and you're not really close to someone, it's not really going to complete that pairing sequence. And if you can imagine if you're in a stadium full of lots of people, it's going to have a hard time trying to complete that pairing sequence. And it's not just like this one phone trying to do the pairing sequence. It's the entire space. It's everyone in that stadium close to each other trying to pair and do this synchronization, this handshake. It just doesn't work. It falls over when you got a large amount of people. Thus, that's completely wrong. Like this should be discarded on the basis of that because that's like bad science. Like contact tracing is just meant to work. The more people you're around, the more effective it's meant to be. Whereas the current approach that we have now and the approach we're about to take, it degrades the more people you're around. Anyway, so I'm going to pull into a couple of things here in this report by the AFR. I wish they would fact check. The community's here. Anyway, the overhaul will incorporate a new Bluetooth protocol called Herald that promises 100% app level Bluetooth performance to better identify close contacts. Well, I think we just covered that. I'd be asking people in a Senate select community and politicians in the community and medical professionals to really hold them to account. How is this better than what we already have? Because we don't need to look at the source code to know this is going to be the same damn results as before, as in not effective. Now, lower down in the press release that the AFR has published, and I will say that it is literally just a press release. The AFR has been publishing press releases. It's just crap. The COVID Safe app logs close contacts. People who have had the app and are within 1.5 meters of each other for 15 minutes over a 14-day period. Now, that has been debunked. That has been debunked since day one. That is not how the application works. COVID Safe works by scanning around you who has COVID Safe, and it does a handshake. It has no notion of proximity. It does not know if it's 1.5 meters away or how close you are or if you're around someone for 15 minutes. It doesn't work like that. Typically how it works is every minute or every interval of however they configure that interval, it scans everyone you're around and just logs it to an internal database on your phone. And then if you elect to, you can decide to upload that data. When you upload that data, all the processing is done server side. So this entire narrative from day one, it's been picked apart so many times that it only logs close contacts. That's bullshit. It logs all contacts. All the processing is done server side. Bluetooth has no notion of range. It has signal strengths, RSSI. It's just the property of Bluetooth does not have distance. So when you upload that data, what it does is uploads your make of phone, the Bluetooth, you make a phone, and the Bluetooth signal, and they can roughly kind of just play with numbers and try to guess how close you were with something. So let's go further into the AFR piece. And I would like a journalist or anyone really just hold the DTA to account with the following statement. The DTA has been working with Apple and Google on incorporating the new Bluetooth protocol. Well, we started originally and we discussed right at the beginning, there is no real kind of Bluetooth protocol. Bluetooth only has two protocols. It has beacon and it has pairing. So they're moving to a different way of implementing, or different implementation of like how the wire level protocol Bluetooth. But it's whatever. That's getting off point. So how has the Australian government or the DTA been working with Google and Apple? Ask that question. Get specifics in the Senate Select Committee. Ask, how have you been working with Apple and Google? Get specifics, because this a paragraph from the PR agencies come out every couple of months and said this. We've been working with Google and Apple. Well, fucking how? How have you been working with Google and Apple? Get specifics, please. How? What have you done? Because what Google and Apple has said is, don't do what you're doing. Use beacons. Use the exposure notification framework, because that works. And they seem that this paragraph goes, the DTA has been working with Google and Apple and incorporated the new protocol in the application and has performed extensive testing across all scenarios for Android and iOS. Okay, but who's performed that testing? Google and Apple don't. Google and Apple don't do this testing for you. Is there a contract that the Australian government has with the DTA to do this testing? Who is doing this testing? What is with this paragraph that says that Google and Apple, like this higher figure, are the ones that are saying it's all going to work? That's what this paragraph is insinuating, is Google and Apple are working with the government. Well, how? And where's that contract showing that they are testing? Now, as we start going down into the bottom of this PR press release by AFR, it says the app has been downloaded by 7.1 million people. Downloads? The fuck is a download? I downloaded the app. I don't use the app anymore. I was chatting with some chick last night and she was like, hey, should I use the app? And I'm like, nah, uninstall it. So she still counted. I'm still counted. So many people have downloaded the app, but they're not using it. Why are we using this bullshit metric of success? Can we get some real actual metrics to say whether people are actually using the application? It's very easy to calculate, and you don't need to breach the privacy policy or the legislation to get these numbers, and it would go a long way to establish trust. Anyway, we go into the next paragraph, and it says Apple and Google have released their own close contact tracing system. This is the Beacon system. And it says that but a reluctance to integrate with public health contact tracing systems has meant that both of these companies have struggled to win widespread usage around the world. That is categorically fucking bullshit. Absolute bullshit. First, the exposure notifications of the beacons can and do integrate in with public health systems. That narrative, I wish someone and other people would call that bullshit. That is bullshit. And also, it's also bullshit on the sense that it has won widespread usage around the world. And more importantly, is if you use the Google Apple approach, if you have the UK system uses the Google Apple system and it integrates in with their public health system. The same with the Netherlands as well. And lots of different countries. I'm not going to even bother going through all of them. Go look them up. Once you have that country's app and you fly across their borders into Australia, well, the contact tracing effort works internationally, between public health offices. You can't say the same for COVID safe. So if someone in the UK has the UK app on their phone, they fly into Australia, and then later it's found in the UK that there's been a COVID outbreak, and they think it might be connected to this person who just got on a plane. It might be a transmission risk. Well, the Australian officers here in Australia will be able to see that information and be able to better do contact tracing, right? It just works. Whereas if you stick with the Australian application, COVID Safe, no matter if you use the current Singapore implementation or you use the new Herald implementation, we'll get into that. It just doesn't work. Like you need someone to actually go to the store and download a separate application. And then the contact tracing can only begin once they're on our borders, on our shores. Whereas if you use the Google Apple approach, it just works. Plus it does integrate in with the systems. That is absolute categorical bullshit. Now, it goes on to actually say that it's an Australian first because we'll be the first country to move to the Herald system. That's bullshit. Well, actually, it's truth. We will be the first country to move to the Herald system because other countries rejected it. The UK government rejected Herald because it doesn't work. Like if you're running an iPhone application, it doesn't work if it's in the background. It needs to be in the foreground. The only way it'll work in the background is if you are around other Android phones. That's right. For iPhone to work, you need to be around other Android phones if it's in the background. That's why it got thrown out. This is in the documentation of the Herald specification. And actually, in the actual DTA press release, this is bullshit. It actually says this. According to the DTA test, the new protocol will continue to work on more than 96% of Apple and Google phones. And then finish up the paragraph with the only scenario where the app will not work is when the app is not active. What the fuck? That is the main scenario. Like, if it doesn't work when the app's not active, why are we even using this technology? The only scenario when the app will not work is when the app is not active. The fuck? That's the primary use case. Why are we moving to technology that doesn't work when it's in the background to another technology where it still doesn't work in the background? That's bullshit. Our medical professionals deserve technology that works. So that's it, really. I encourage you to look at the COVID safe hashtag on Twitter today. You'll see a lot more technologists with more level head than I am, because I'm just fuming. Other people are fuming as well. I invited a few people to jump on a video call together, but they couldn't. They feel in the same. They feel like swearing. Really, AFR, lift up your game. Australian government, what the hell are you doing? And secondly, this is a call out to any of the state health departments. You don't have to put up with this bullshit from federal at all. All it takes is a letter from any state department, health department, and that letter will allow you to develop a Google and Apple based approach that works internationally and across borders. And that's it. You don't need federal approval. You have the power as a state health officer, a state CHO, to authorize this. Right? And it wouldn't cost that much money. There's people in the community who will build it for you for free. Right? And we don't even have to start from scratch. We could use the UK one. We can use the Netherlands app. We can use all these different apps that have been already built. And we're just like, here you go. It's yours. Right? You don't need to keep putting up with this bullshit from federal and giving you technology and solutions that doesn't work, because this is not right, because medical professionals deserve technology that works. Thanks for tuning in.